Chapter 1. December 1st, 1989. Moscow. Joe Reacher walked along a wide path bordering the Moskva River. Behind him, he could glimpse the towering spire of the Kremlin, St. Basil's Cathedral, and although he couldn't see it, he knew the Lubyanka building, home to the KGB, was lurking in the background. Out of sight, but never out of mind. It was bitterly cold, and the wind, when it forced its way between the towering buildings scattered around the square, seemed to unleash itself in the wide-open space of the square and blast anyone brave enough or foolish enough to stand in its way. The sub-zero temperatures knifed through Joe's clothing, and his face felt numb. The area was a mix of industrial warehouses, large apartment buildings, and empty abandoned spaces. There were streetlights spaced every 50 yards or so that hugged a walking path. For some reason, tonight they were dark. Joe wasn't the biggest fan of multi-agency operations. This one happened to include Joe's group from Army intelligence and at least one agent from the CIA. It was the CIA man's show, and the rest of them were there to provide security. It was an extraction, and Joe didn't know whose idea it was to do it here, under the nose of the KGB, but he admired the brashness. Ahead, a pair of headlights turned toward the park. It was nearly midnight, and the time agreed upon by all parties had arrived. Joe felt tension in his neck and shoulders, or maybe it was just that everything had frozen solid. He rotated his head to stay loose and flexed his hands inside their leather gloves. According to the intelligence, they were to assist a family fleeing the clutches of the Soviet government. There was no information on who the family was, why the Soviets had them imprisoned in the first place, or what their importance may or may not be to the U.S. Much of the operation seemed to be on a need-to-know basis, and Joe apparently didn't need to know a whole lot. This operation had a lot of moving parts, and in Joe's experience, the more parts, the more likely they break down. The car had come to a stop just inside the entrance to a parking lot that held only one other vehicle. Just ahead of the lot was a bridge made of huge stone blocks with an arched opening underneath. From the bridge's shadow, a man appeared. Joe knew it was their CIA counterpart, and that the other car in the lot was his, equipped with bulletproof glass and doors reinforced with armor plating. Joe recognized it for what it was, a getaway car that was expected to be fired upon. With its exhaust fumes turning white in the frigid air, the other car remained at idle. A door opened slightly, but no light appeared. Someone must have removed the dome light, Joe thought. The people in the car were apparently keen not to make themselves targets. Always a good policy in this type of operation. Peering into the darkness, Joe searched for shapes that matched the individuals he was here for, a man, woman, and child. It was too dark, and all he could make out was a vague shape behind the wheel and maybe another in the passenger seat. Nobody seemed to be moving. Joe watched as the CIA man moved closer to the car. Joe could read his tension. Why weren't they getting out? Time was of the essence. He glanced over to his right where his colleague Copland was set up. Joe unbuttoned the top snaps of his jacket and put his hand inside around the butt of his 9mm Browning pistol. He had no desire to step out of the rectangle of darkness he'd used to make himself nearly invisible. Now, no one in the car was moving at all, and the American spy was pointing at the getaway vehicle as if to say, "It's right there." Without thinking, Joe stepped from his hiding spot and began to walk toward the parking lot. To his left, he saw Copland doing the same thing. He quickened his pace. Something is wrong, he thought.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.